"You're defending a janitor like he actually matters, Maya." Brianna Hayes said it loudly enough for half the marble lobby of Carter Global to hear. Conversations stopped. Heads turned. Beside a yellow cleaning cart stood Ethan Cole, dressed in a plain gray janitor's uniform, one hand resting on a mop handle, while coffee spread across the polished floor near his shoes. To everyone watching, Ethan was nobody important. Just another maintenance worker earning an hourly paycheck in a 40-story Manhattan headquarters, filled with executives who wore watches worth more than his supposed annual salary. Brianna folded her arms and stared at him. "I asked for this floor to be spotless before the investors arrived. Is that complicated?" Ethan opened his mouth, but Maya Brooks stepped forward first. He didn't spill it. Brianna slowly turned toward her. Maya worked in client operations, 3 floors below the executive suites. She had no powerful title, no famous last name, and certainly no reason to risk her career for a janitor she had known only a few weeks. "Excuse me," Brianna asked. Maya swallowed, but she did not move. "I saw what happened. Someone bumped the table. Ethan was cleaning it before you even came downstairs." Silence tightened around them. Several employees looked away. They knew Brianna's reputation. She remembered every disagreement and had influence over promotions. "So now you're his attorney?" Brianna asked with a cold smile. A few nervous laughs followed. Maya glanced at Ethan. His expression remained calm, but something behind his eyes had changed. "No," she said. "I just don't think someone should be embarrassed for something they didn't do." Brianna stared at her for several uncomfortable seconds, then looked at Ethan's uniform as though it offended her. "Interesting choice of company, Maya." She turned and walked toward the elevators. The crowd scattered almost immediately. Ethan bent toward the cleaning supplies, but Maya reached for the fallen paper towels first. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly. "Yes, I did." "Why?" Maya looked genuinely confused by the question. "Because you were telling the truth." Ethan stared at her. She had no idea how rare those words sounded in his world. "You might have just met an enemy upstairs." Maya gave him a small smile. "Then I guess I'll survive." She walked away before Ethan could answer. What Maya could not see was the security camera mounted above the lobby. 40 floors higher, Victoria Carter sat alone in her private office, watching the entire exchange on a monitor. She leaned closer as Maya disappeared through the hallway, then looked back at the man holding the mop. The janitor everyone had ignored was not Ethan Cole. His real name was Ethan Carter. He was Victoria's only son, heir to a multi-billion-dollar empire, and one day, this entire company would belong to him. But 3 weeks earlier, Ethan had walked into his mother's office with a request so unbelievable that even Victoria Carter had thought he had lost his mind. 3 weeks earlier, Ethan Carter stood inside his mother's corner office overlooking Manhattan, watching streams of yellow taxis crawl along the streets nearly 40 floors below. Behind him, Victoria Carter closed a financial report and studied her son with the expression she normally reserved for executives proposing terrible investments. "You want me to understand this correctly," she said. "You want to work inside Carter Global as a janitor?" Ethan turned from the window. At 31, he had everything his family's fortune could provide, yet the exhaustion in his eyes had nothing to do with business. "Not work as one forever, just long enough." Victoria leaned back. "Long enough for what?" Ethan hesitated. "To meet people who don't know my last name." Victoria's expression softened slightly. She knew what had brought him here. For years, Ethan had moved through a world of charity galas, private clubs, luxury hotels, and carefully arranged introductions. Women often seemed fascinated by him before he finished saying hello. At first, he believed it was confidence. Eventually, he realized many of them had already searched his family name. His most recent relationship had ended after he discovered that the future his girlfriend described to her friends revolved less around Ethan and more around access to the Carter lifestyle. It had left something bitter behind. One dishonest relationship does not mean every woman is pretending, Victoria said. It was not one. Ethan walked toward her desk. When I enter a room, people already know what I own. They know what company I will inherit. They know where I live. How am I supposed to know whether someone sees me or everything attached to me? Victoria remained silent. Ethan continued. You keep telling me there are good people everywhere. Fine. I want to meet them without giving them a reason to impress me. And your solution is a mop? My solution is becoming invisible. That answer changed Victoria's expression. Ethan had noticed something she understood very well. Powerful people learned little about someone when that person wanted their approval. Suppose you actually meet someone, she said. What happens when she learns you lied? Ethan looked away for a moment. I will tell her, before it becomes serious. Victoria shook her head. Secrets always feel smaller to the person keeping them. Ethan understood the warning, but his decision was already made. He would use a shortened version of his middle name, Cole, leave his tailored suits at home, arrive by subway, and work among employees who believed he had no influence whatsoever. Only Victoria and Marcus Reed, one of her most trusted executives, would know. Victoria finally stood and walked around the desk. If you do this, I will not rescue you when it becomes uncomfortable. Ethan smiled faintly. That is the point. She extended her hand. Then find out whether people treat Ethan Cole differently from Ethan Carter. He shook it. Neither of them realized that the experiment would answer that question within hours, or that the woman who would change Ethan's life was already working 3 floors below them. On Monday morning, Ethan Carter disappeared without leaving Manhattan. By 7:15, the man who normally arrived at Carter Global through a private entrance stepped off a crowded subway, wearing inexpensive work pants, sturdy black shoes, and a gray maintenance uniform with the name Ethan Cole stitched above the pocket. No driver waited outside. No executive assistant carried his schedule. No employee hurried forward to greet him. Ethan stood across the street from the 40-story glass tower his mother had built and experienced something strangely unfamiliar. Nobody cared that he was there. He entered through the employee entrance and reported to facilities, where a supervisor named Mr. Jenkins handed him an identification badge, cleaning supplies, and a list of floors. Keep the executive areas spotless, Mr. Jenkins said. People upstairs notice everything. Ethan almost smiled. He knew exactly how much they noticed. His first assignment took him to the 37th floor. Within minutes, the experiment began working better than he expected. Executives who had shaken his hand at charity events walked directly past him without recognition. One man Ethan had played golf with twice held out an empty coffee cup without making eye contact. Trash, the man said, continuing his conversation. Ethan accepted it silently. Later, a woman stepped around his cleaning cart and complained that maintenance workers should use service elevators. Ethan apologized, even though he knew company policy gave him every right to be there. By lunchtime, the lesson was becoming uncomfortable. Ethan had spent years wondering whether wealth made people treat him better. He had never realized how quickly the absence of status could make a person almost invisible. Then Brianna Hayes appeared. Ethan knew her immediately. She was a senior director with an impressive performance record and a reputation for charming anyone above her. At company events, Brianna had always greeted Ethan warmly. That morning, she looked directly at him and saw nothing familiar. "You missed a spot," she said, pointing toward a perfectly clean section of floor. Ethan looked down. "I can take care of it." "That is what you are being paid for." She walked away without another word. Ethan watched her enter the executive elevator stunned by the difference. Hours later, while replacing supplies near the 24th floor break room, he heard laughter behind him. 2 employees were joking about the new janitor being too polished for maintenance work. Ethan kept moving. Then someone approached from the opposite hallway, carrying 2 cups of coffee and a stack of folders. A woman with warm brown eyes slowed when she noticed his overloaded cart. "Do you need a hand?" she asked. Ethan looked behind himself, genuinely thinking she meant someone else. "Me?" she smiled. "Unless the cart can answer." Before he could respond, she set down her coffee and steadied a box that was beginning to slide. There. Crisis avoided. Ethan stared at her employee badge. Maya Brooks, Client Operations. "Thank you," he said. "Of course." She picked up her coffee and continued down the hall, as if helping him had meant nothing at all. To Maya, perhaps it had not. But Ethan stood motionless for several seconds, because after an entire morning of being ignored, she had been the first person in the building to look at him like he belonged there. By the end of Ethan's first week, he had learned more about Carter Global from behind a cleaning cart than he had learned from years of executive reports. People revealed themselves differently around someone they considered unimportant. They complained openly. They ignored messes they expected someone else to clean. They spoke politely to senior executives, then changed their voices completely when addressing receptionists, delivery workers, and maintenance staff. But Maya Brooks never seemed to change. Ethan noticed it slowly. She thanked the security guard every morning. She knew the name of the older woman who cleaned the 22nd floor. When an intern accidentally delivered the wrong files to her desk, Maya corrected the mistake without embarrassing him. None of those moments involved Ethan, which made them matter even more. One afternoon, Ethan decided to learn whether her kindness survived inconvenience. He waited near the employee cafeteria carrying a cardboard box filled with cleaning supplies just as Maya approached the elevator. The doors opened. She was already running late for a meeting. Ethan deliberately slowed his steps. Several employees entered ahead of him, leaving barely enough room for the box. Nobody offered to help. Maya looked at the elevator, then at Ethan. "Hold it," she told someone inside. She stepped back, took one side of the box, and helped him inside. "You're going to be late," Ethan said. "Probably." "Then why stop?" Maya shrugged. "Because being late by 30 seconds is better than watching somebody struggle when I can help." The answer stayed with him all afternoon. 2 days later, he found her alone in the break room staring at the vending machine. "Do not tell me Carter Global does not pay you enough for lunch," Ethan joked. Maya laughed. "It does. I forgot my wallet at home." Ethan reached into his pocket, but she shook her head. "I'm not taking your money." "Why not?" "Because you probably work harder for it than I do." Ethan almost told her how absurd that sentence was. Instead, he bought 2 inexpensive sandwiches with the cash Marcus had given him for his cover and placed one beside her. "Then we split mine." Maya studied him, amused. "You are stubborn." "I've been told." They ate together at a small table near the window. For the first time, Ethan asked about her life. Maya told him she had grown up in Queens with her mother, who had worked 2 jobs to put her through college. She wanted to move into project management someday, but she refused to become the kind of person who treated job titles like measures of human worth. "My mother used to say, 'Character shows when there is nothing to gain,'" Maya said. Ethan became completely still. That sentence struck too close to the reason he was sitting there. "Your mother sounds wise." "She is." Maya smiled. "What about your family?" Ethan hesitated. One truthful answer could destroy everything. "My mother works in business," he finally said. Maya laughed softly. "That sounds mysterious." Ethan smiled, but guilt tightened inside him. He had started this experiment to discover whether someone could care about him without knowing his fortune. He had never considered what would happen if he found her before he was ready to tell the truth. Over the next 2 weeks, lunch became the part of Ethan's day he secretly waited for. Sometimes he and Maya ate in the cafeteria. Sometimes they carried sandwiches to a small public plaza across the street, where office workers crowded around metal tables beneath the Manhattan skyline. Maya never asked why Ethan wore the same inexpensive jacket every morning. She never asked what he earned. She asked what made him laugh, what frightened him, and what kind of life he wanted 5 years from now. Those questions were harder than anything Ethan heard in a boardroom. One Friday afternoon, Maya admitted that she had applied for an upcoming project management position. "It would change everything for me," she said. "Then you should get it." Maya smiled. That is not always how companies work. Ethan knew she was right, and knowing that his own family name was on the building made the truth sting. Later that evening, most employees had gone home when Ethan found Maya helping an older cleaner named Mrs. Daniels organize supplies. "You know she gets paid to do that," Brianna said from the doorway. Maya looked up. "She has been here since 6 this morning." Brianna gave a dismissive smile. "Everyone has problems." Then she noticed Ethan. "And apparently, everyone has new friends." After Brianna left, Maya shook her head. People become strange when they get a little power. Ethan watched her carefully. "Would money change you?" Maya laughed. "That depends. Enough money might convince me to stop buying terrible vending machine coffee." "I mean real money." Her smile faded. "Money is useful. Power is useful. But when people use either one to control someone, I lose respect for them." Ethan felt his stomach tighten. What if someone hid something important because they were afraid the truth would change how people treated them? Maya considered the question. Being afraid is understandable. Lying to someone who trusts you is different. Ethan said nothing. Maya studied his face. "That was oddly specific." "Just something I was thinking about." He nearly told her everything right there. He imagined saying his real name, explaining the experiment, and admitting that the building around them belonged to the company his mother controlled. Then the elevator doors opened, and Marcus Reed stepped onto the floor. Marcus saw Ethan beside Maya and immediately understood the danger. "Good evening," Marcus said carefully. Maya nodded. Ethan held his breath. Marcus continued walking without revealing anything. That night, Ethan called his mother and told her he wanted to end the disguise. Victoria listened quietly. "Because you have learned enough?" she asked. Ethan looked through his apartment window at the city below. "Because Maya deserves the truth." Before he could say more, his phone displayed a new message from Maya. She had been selected for the final interview for the project management position. Ethan smiled, then read the second sentence. Brianna Hayes would be leading the interview panel. His smile disappeared. Ethan suddenly understood that Maya's biggest test at Carter Global might have nothing to do with him, while Brianna had already begun wondering why a woman with such ambition was spending so much time with a janitor. The morning of Maya's final interview, Ethan arrived before sunrise, but Brianna was already there. Through the glass doors of a conference room, he saw her reviewing candidate files while speaking with 2 senior managers. Maya's resume sat near the top of the stack. Ethan wanted to walk inside, reveal who he was, and make certain Maya received a fair opportunity. Instead, he remembered why he had started this experiment. If he used his power now, he would become exactly what Maya disliked, someone manipulating outcomes from above. At 9:30, Maya stepped from the elevator, wearing a navy suit and carrying a simple leather portfolio. She smiled when she saw Ethan. "Wish me luck." "You do not need luck. Everyone needs a little." Before Ethan could answer, Brianna appeared. Her eyes moved from Maya to Ethan, and her expression sharpened. "Your interview starts in 5 minutes. I suggest you spend them preparing instead of socializing with maintenance." Several employees nearby heard her. Maya's face tightened. His name is Ethan. Brianna smiled. I know his name. I also know senior leadership notices judgment. People trying to move upward should think carefully about the company they keep. The hallway became painfully quiet. Ethan felt anger rise, but Maya spoke first. If being polite to someone hurts my career, then maybe the problem is not my judgment. Brianna's smile disappeared. Conference room. 5 minutes. The interview lasted nearly an hour. When Maya finally emerged, she looked exhausted, but hopeful. She had answered every question well. Even Brianna had been unable to challenge her qualifications. For the rest of the day, Ethan allowed himself to believe Maya would get the position. Then, shortly before 5, Brianna called Maya into her office. 10 minutes later, Maya returned with a strained expression. "What happened?" Ethan asked. Maya forced a smile. "Nothing official." "Maya," she exhaled. "Brianna said I am one of the strongest candidates, but she thinks I need to show better professional judgment." Ethan immediately understood. "Because of me?" Maya did not answer. She did not need to. "You should stay away from me until they decide," he said quietly. Maya stared at him. "What?" "This job matters to you. So do my principles. I am a janitor, Maya. I cannot help your career." Her eyes narrowed. "Is that what you think this is about?" Ethan looked away. Maya stepped closer. "I do not choose friends based on what they can do for me." Those words hit harder than she knew. If Brianna wants me to pretend someone doesn't matter because of his uniform, then I do not want to become like her just to get promoted. Ethan could barely speak. Maya had just given him the answer he had come searching for, and she had done it without knowing there was a test. That evening, Ethan went directly to Victoria's office. "It is over," he said. "I am telling Maya tomorrow." Victoria studied him. "Are you certain?" "She has already proven who she is." Victoria nodded slowly. "Then make sure you are ready to prove who you are." Ethan left believing the hardest part was finally behind him. He was wrong. The next morning, before he could confess anything, Brianna called Maya into her office again, and this time she offered her a choice that would change everything. When Maya entered Brianna's office, the door closed behind her with a quiet click. Brianna gestured toward the chair across from her desk. "I have good news. The panel agrees you are qualified for the project management position." Maya smiled cautiously. "Thank you." "But qualifications are only part of leadership." Brianna folded her hands. "Executives are judged by the relationships they maintain." Maya already knew where this conversation was going. "You mean Ethan?" Brianna leaned back. "I mean perception. People have noticed how much time you spend with him. He is my friend. Then make a smarter friend." Maya's smile vanished. Brianna slid a folder across the desk. "The position comes with a significant raise, better benefits, and direct access to senior leadership. You have worked years for this opportunity. I am asking whether you are willing to behave like someone who deserves it." Maya stared at the folder. Her mother had sacrificed for years to help her reach this point. The raise could change their lives, but the price Brianna was demanding had nothing to do with performance. "Are you telling me I have to stop speaking to Ethan?" "I'm telling you that successful people understand what belongs in their future and what should remain behind." Maya slowly pushed the folder back. "Then give the job to someone else." Brianna blinked. "Think carefully." "I have." Maya stood. "If becoming a manager requires me to treat someone as less valuable because he cleans floors, I am not interested." She walked out before Brianna could answer. Ethan was waiting near the elevators. One look at Maya's face told him enough. "She made you choose." Maya nodded. "And you chose me?" His voice carried more guilt than happiness. I chose myself, Maya said. I am not becoming someone I dislike for a promotion. Ethan felt the truth pressing against his chest. This had gone far enough. Maya, there is something I need to tell you. Before he could continue, Marcus appeared from the executive corridor. He was distracted by a call and did not notice Maya standing beside Ethan. Mr. Carter, your mother moved tomorrow's announcement to 7:30. She needs you upstairs before the gala. Silence fell. Marcus stopped. His face changed instantly. Maya looked at him, then at Ethan. Mr. Carter. Ethan's stomach dropped. Maya, please let me explain. She stared at his identification badge, then toward the executive elevators Marcus had just exited. What did he call you? My name is Ethan Carter. Her expression emptied. Carter? Ethan nodded slowly. Victoria Carter is my mother. Maya took one step backward. You own this company? My family does. Her eyes filled with disbelief, not excitement. So the uniform, the janitor job, all of it was fake? I came here because I wanted to know how people would treat me without my name. Maya went still. And me? Ethan could not answer quickly enough. That hesitation answered for him. Was I part of the test? She whispered. Not at first. Maya looked at him as if the man she trusted had vanished in front of her. Then she turned and walked toward the elevator. Ethan had finally found someone who cared about him without his money. Now, because of the way he had searched for her, he might have lost her before she ever learned how deeply he cared. The elevator doors closed between them, and Ethan stood frozen in the hallway. For weeks, he had imagined telling Maya the truth himself. He had imagined surprise, difficult questions, perhaps even anger. He had never imagined the look she gave him before walking away. It was not shock at discovering he was wealthy. It was hurt. The next evening, Carter Global's annual leadership gala filled a ballroom overlooking Manhattan with investors, executives, employees, and community partners. Maya had planned to stay home, but her department was required to attend. She entered quietly in a simple dark blue dress and chose a place near the back. Across the room, Brianna noticed her and gave a satisfied smile. She still believed Maya had thrown away the biggest opportunity of her career for a janitor. Then Victoria Carter stepped onto the stage. The room fell silent. Tonight, Victoria said, I am introducing someone who will take a greater role in the future of this company. Brianna straightened immediately. Cameras turned toward the stage. Many of you know my son by reputation. Some of you, however, have met him without realizing it. Maya lowered her eyes. She already knew what was coming. Victoria looked toward the side entrance. Please welcome Ethan Carter. Ethan walked into the ballroom wearing a tailored black suit. A wave of whispers moved through the crowd. Brianna's face lost its color. Several employees stared at him in disbelief. The man they had ignored, ordered around, and treated as invisible was the billionaire heir to the company. Ethan stepped beside his mother, but his eyes searched only for Maya. Victoria explained that Ethan had spent several weeks working anonymously inside Carter Global because he wanted to understand the company from a perspective leadership rarely saw. She did not name anyone. She did not need to. People remembered their own behavior. Ethan took the microphone. I learned that titles can hide character just as easily as uniforms can hide identity. Silence deepened. I saw employees treated differently because of their position. That changes now. Promotions will be reviewed independently. Workplace conduct standards will apply equally at every level. And no employee will be punished for showing respect to another person. Brianna stared at the floor. Ethan continued. I also learned something about myself. I believed hiding my identity would protect me from being deceived. Instead, I deceived someone who had given me no reason to doubt her. His voice softened. Maya looked up. Their eyes met across the ballroom. That person deserved honesty from me, and I failed to give it. Ethan stepped away from the microphone. Applause slowly filled the room, but Maya did not move. He approached her through the crowd. "Maya, I am sorry." She looked at him for several seconds. Was any of it real? Everything I felt was real. But I did not know who I was talking to. Ethan had no defense. "You are right." Maya swallowed hard. "You wanted to know whether I could care about you without your money. You got your answer." She glanced around the glittering ballroom. "Now, I need to know whether I can trust you with the truth." Then she turned and walked out. Around Ethan, the entire room finally saw who he really was. But the only woman whose opinion mattered had just left him standing alone. For the next 3 weeks, Ethan did something no one at Carter Global expected. He stopped trying to convince Maya to forgive him. No flowers arrived at her apartment. No luxury car waited outside her building. No promotion suddenly appeared with her name attached to it. Instead, Ethan went back to work. The difference was that now everyone knew who he was. He met privately with maintenance workers, receptionists, assistants, interns, and security staff. He asked questions executives had rarely bothered to ask, then listened to the answers. A new promotion review system was created, so one manager could no longer quietly damage an employee's career. Workplace complaints were moved to an independent team. Brianna was removed from hiring and promotion decisions, while her conduct was formally reviewed. Ethan even asked Marcus to reconsider Maya for the project management position, but with one condition. "I cannot be involved in the decision." Marcus understood immediately. Maya eventually received a new interview with an independent panel. She earned the position on her own. When she received the offer, Ethan sent only one message. "Congratulations. You deserved it before I ever knew your name." Maya read it twice but did not reply. Days later, she found Ethan in the same cafeteria where they had once shared sandwiches. He was sitting alone with an inexpensive cup of coffee. "Still drinking terrible coffee?" she asked. Ethan looked up, surprised. "Apparently, money cannot fix everything." Maya almost smiled. She sat across from him. For several seconds, neither spoke. Finally, Ethan said, "I owe you an apology without an explanation attached to it. I lied because I was afraid of being used. But my fear did not give me the right to test someone who trusted me." Maya studied him carefully. "Do you know what hurt most? Tell me." "I thought you believed I was different. Then I discovered you were still waiting for me to prove it." Ethan lowered his eyes. "You proved who you were long before I admitted who I was." Maya remained quiet. Ethan continued. "I went looking for a woman worthy of my trust. I never stopped to ask whether I was behaving like a man worthy of hers." Something in Maya's expression softened. "That is the first thing you have said that sounds like the Ethan I knew." "He was real. Then stop hiding him." Ethan nodded. There was no dramatic promise, no expensive gift, and no instant forgiveness. They simply started again. Coffee became lunch. Lunch became Saturday walks through Central Park. Trust returned slowly, because this time there were no secret identities between them. Months later, Ethan brought Maya to Victoria's home for dinner, not as a candidate being evaluated, but as the woman he loved. Victoria welcomed her warmly. As Ethan watched Maya laughing with his mother, he finally understood the lesson his disguise had failed to teach him at first. True love was never about finding someone who could pass his test. It was about becoming honest enough to deserve the love that had already found him.